Ready to go live? Like never before. Book the OB event today and take your event to the world. One powerful broadcast at a time.
To book, call 0705 506 1061 or 0916 101 1061. Email marketing@dominion.org.ng or visit our socials on Instagram @Dominion Broadcast.
Dominion Broadcast, your channel of choice.
Need a
And from the many conversations of the state policing now to the conference of speakers, everything is settled in a sense. Just the final lap is what is expected. Why a lot of persons are expecting this to happen 60 years after the police department is decentralized in the country, Nigeria. And that's one of the high points and stories making rounds across the newspapers this morning. Welcome to this segment of newspaper headlines and analysis, where we check into the print and bring you stories that are making the rounds across the country, Nigeria, particularly from the newspapers. The Punch newspaper is what I start with this morning, and you care to know what it says. 36 speakers back state police, final test begins. It's like a new era, the new dawn of a time in the country where everybody's expecting that now security will now go to the local setting, will now go to the grassroots, and that's one way to fix security in the country. But remember, 60 years when the police structure was centralized, and 60 years after, which is this year, hopefully it will be decentralized fully, and we'll have state police and state policing across the regions of this country. A development I think I personally would agree to. But again, there are other issues arising from this as well. Maybe the loopholes, the blind spots, the chances of people extorting or getting the better of this particular thing for their personal gain, profiteering from all of this. And that's one thing we say is a far cry from what Nigerians would expect or request from leadership in the country. Now, the Punch newspaper is what I have with me this morning to start with. And after that story, it brings out to say, speakers vow to prioritize state police bill as assemblies brace for debate. That is also one of the subwriters of that big and bold caption. New state police bill burdens police council and admits NBA, NLC, rights panel and others. That's also a subwriter. Earlier comments National Assembly over passage of state police bill as Kano Assembly meets governors. That's another subwriter on that big writer this morning. Now, CBN orders banks to freeze 6 terror suspect accounts. And that's the story on the Punch newspaper as well. You might want to catch a read on page 18 of the Punch newspaper this morning. Page 25, I meant to say, beg your pardon. Dangote refinery eyes $2 billion in historic listing. That's according to a report you see at the top corner of the Punch newspaper this morning. The front page has that story. Unfortunately, 188 die, 1,500 injured in Venezuela earthquake disaster. We brought the report yesterday that about 700 people and 34 were reported dead at the time of filing yesterday's report, and of course 700 were injured. But now the tally has increased: 188 dead, 1,500 injured in Venezuela earthquake disaster. We express our condolences to every of those people who lost their lives and their families as well. A Lagos building collapsed, death toll hit 8, 26 rescued. When we have one in Venezuela, we have another in Lagos, but we hope that there will be fortitude to bear the losses for the families affected. If you want to catch them on that story, page 4 and 5 of the Punch newspaper is where to look into this morning. And one topic that is also at the heart of security today is Tinubu vows safe return of abducted Oyo teachers and pupils. Page 9 of the Punch newspaper is where that story is captured this morning. Tinubu vows safe return of abducted Oyo teachers and pupils. Check that story out on the Punch newspaper as well this morning. I'll switch my focus away from the Punch newspaper now to see what Daily Sun has to say this morning. This particular morning, Daily Sun has the front page caption, the boldest and the biggest, to be about state police bill. Pressure shifts to state legislators. Stakeholders, export demand early passage of bill by 2/3 of state houses of assembly to complete constitution amendments. Conference of Speakers pledges thorough review. That's also in the story as we track it much further. Something of interest to everybody in the country. IPOB raises Kanu's conviction at U.S. Civil Society Forum. IPOB, that's Independent People of Biafra, raises Kanu's conviction at U.S. Civil Society Forum. Page 23 is where to catch up on that story. Daily Sun newspaper is a place to look out for that story. CBN initiates crackdown on terrorism suspect to freeze accounts of terror financiers, BDC operators, others banks to freeze accounts of customers linked to Vice. That is also a big one. We understand that there is a lot of problem coming from the financiers, because we say if something persists for long, you can tell there's somebody bankrolling financing it, and that seems to be the situation. And some have also said if you want to stop terrorism or insecurity, check out those people who are bankrolling, because it requires a lot of money to carry an AK-47. I did a bit of research and I discovered even in the local market it runs into about 1.5 million and even much more, depending on how old or new that particular ammunition is. So if you just one AK-47, for example, you're not talking about the bullets and some of the other casing that you might need to buy. So it costs a lot to do or to perpetrate evil in that massive scale that we have had it in the country. The insurgency is being bankrolled. Now, the CBN, in collaboration with the sanctions committee in the country, as well as the United States government, have listed some people to be they flagged them to be the sponsors or financiers, or if you like, bankrollers of terrorism in the country. Now, CBN has brought out something to initiate a crackdown on the terrorism suspect and then to freeze their accounts. It's a development, and I think it's something to think about. To freeze account of terror financiers and BDC operators is something we actually say yes to in the country. Now, NECO releases 2026 BECE results. If you wrote the exam or you have someone, please tell them NECO has released that particular results. Moving on from that story, telcos under pressure as consumer anger grow over rapid data depletion, drop calls. That is also a story that is represented on the Daily Sun newspaper, the front page, particularly this morning. Oba of Benin constitutes traditional security network to tackle banditry in the Edo State. Now, development and movement from across local settings, and we say the grassroots is starting, and it's a good one, really. Now, federal government to review minimum wage. That's coming from the the special advisor to the president, Femi Gbajabiamila, says 70,000 not in time, in tune with current economic realities. That's on Nigerian Tribune newspaper this morning. I've switched from Daily Sun now to Nigerian Tribune to have the stories represented on the front page of the Nigerian Tribune newspaper this morning. Appeal court adjourns hearing in suits against the registration of ADC Accord 3 others till July 7. That's the story you might want to catch up on the Nigerian Tribune newspaper this morning. CBN orders banks to freeze assets of BDCs, 6 individuals over alleged terrorism funding. Also, one story you might want to see on the Nigerian Tribune newspaper this morning. Local government autonomy and state police stakeholders put governors on the spot. State government, that's the biggest caption on Nigerian Tribune newspaper this morning. It says local government autonomy, state police. Now, stakeholders put governors on the spot. State police will protect persecuted Nigerian Christians, says U.S. lawmaker Moore. Of course, that's more. And of course, speakers reaffirm State Assembly's commitment to State Police Bill. And that was according to a statement released by the chairman of the Conference of Speakers in the country, Nigeria. Now, Labour Party urges governors, state assemblies to be above partisanship and to back the bill. Also a story on page 20, 21, and 22. Tinubu's government can be trusted with state police. That's PRP. That's coming from PRP, and it's just an opinion right there. 2 dead, 16 rescued as 3-story building collapses in Lagos. Very sad one this morning. INEC opens candidates nomination portal tomorrow. Also a story on the Nigerian Tribune newspaper that is of interest to many people. Talking INEC, talking elections in the country. And a bit of health advice this morning, according to experts, says menstrual blood tests to help detect endometriosis. That's exactly from experts this morning. Menstrual blood tests to help detect endometriosis, according to experts. If you want to catch a read on that, page 27 is where to look into of the Nigerian Tribune newspaper this morning. Former security guard planned, executed murder of ex-OGTV broadcaster. That's from the police this morning, according to a report right there. Tinubu harps on rebirth of national assets, inaugurates remodeled 154-bed Premier Hotel, promises safe release of Orire kidnapped students and their teachers as well. Page 10 of the Nigerian Tribune newspaper is where to look into to get that story this morning. I love to look at the Guardian newspaper for so many reasons. For one, it has a way of depicting the stories in a way that is catchy and detailed as well. So the Guardian newspaper is where I'll land this morning. And the Guardian newspaper has the story. The boldest caption says, "Poses over ex-governors push for legislative seats." Poses over ex-governors push for legislative seats for service of sanctuary. That's the story, and it's a big story on page 4 and 5 this morning. And you can see the description as you can see on your screen. For some ex-governors, the journey doesn't end, it just changes. That's what you see. You see some of the ex-governors, according to the depiction we have on the Guardian newspaper, their cartoon depiction going to the Senate. And well, it tells more. Governor's office, they're coming from the governor's office, 8 years of power, privilege, protocol, and control, and straight down to the Senate. As you can see on your screen, those are your governors going to the Senate this morning. Now, moving on from that now, Ramaphosa denounces xenophobia as more Nigerians, others leave South Africa. Ramaphosa, as the president of South Africa, denounced xenophobia as more Nigerians and others leave South Africa. That is also a story on the Guardian newspaper this morning. Atiku, PRP, Falana raised concerns as LP Afenifere Sanwo-Olu back move. I think that's about state police move. Some are against and others are backing. The people are against are probably against because they think people will still, profit here from this, like governors and some other leaders might still have a way to get their way around this particular progress we've made in the country for their personal gains and benefits. INEC yet to get 2027 election funds, 21 days to deadline. That's not a good one if you ask me, because they need to now get some things in place. They have a lot of spendings to do and they need the funding. Anyway, I know they will get it. CBN freezes accounts linked to terrorism financiers, seek enhanced monitoring. Army police reject fresh moves to deploy repentant terrorists. Really? Anyway, Army police reject fresh moves to deploy repentant terrorists. A story on the Guardian newspaper as well this morning. Appeal court to hear ADC other suits against the registration July 7. July 7 is when to keep your fingers crossed for the appeal of the deregistration of some of the parties, ADC as well, and maybe LP and some others. As we also keep tabs on this, we get you in the know as it breaks much further. From that part now, power debt roll deepens as Genco's challenge ministers 50 billion naira payments claim. That is also on the spotlight, the front page of the Guardian newspaper this morning. And the last story I'll take from the Guardian says, high petrol prices persist as Nigeria faces $1.5 billion crude. That's 11.5, I beg your pardon, $11.5 billion crude oil loss. That is the story on the Guardian newspaper, talking about the price, the oil price across the country. Now, moving on from that as well, just to catch one more newspaper, and that's Daily Trust newspaper this morning. Daily Trust is in Kaduna. 7 residents, 2 cops killed in Katsina and Kaduna. Very sad this morning. The top right-hand side of the Daily Trust newspaper says, Jega seeks amendment to Electoral Act. That's the former chairman of INEC, Atari Jega, seeks amendment to Electoral Act. That's about the 2027 elections, and also a conversation. It's always been a conversation, and it's to still be a conversation, because when the prices of items goes down in the global market, it doesn't always translate to coming down in the local markets. But we hope this will change someday, somehow, maybe in the sweet by and by, but we want it more soon than ever. Now, 8 die, 26 rescued in Lagos building collapse. That's also a story on Daily Trust newspaper this morning. You might want to catch up on that story. Yes, it's so much to talk about when you imagine that we have collapse in the country and then people have to lose their lives. Of course, it happens everywhere. But sometimes we only say that we beg and we beckon on engineers and developers to be as as trustworthy as they can be in the country. We hope that they will do what is right by the people and by the profession, by putting everything that it's required for one house to stand in the country. And so that's one thing to think about. That's one of the beckons we can beckon on them as well. Of course, many other stories will still come your way in our subsequent broadcast. We have the news also coming up after this broadcast, but of course we have to go on with the rest of the show, and we say thank you for staying with us. We'll be back shortly after this break.
Live from the heart of the action. Welcome to the nerve center of Next Level Broadcasting.
This is the OB van, where the studio meets the street.
Equipped with cutting-edge cameras, crystal clear audio, real-time switching, and broadcast control, we don't just capture moments, we deliver the experience live.
Anywhere, anytime, from stadiums to red carpets.
I welcome you back. Thank you for staying with us. Still talking about quite a number of things, and it's time for Trend Watch this morning. And what we have is this comment from the First Lady, Lady Remi Tinubu, and she said, "We are trying to give hope. To start akara business doesn't take too much money. To start roasting corn doesn't take much. We have encouraged Nigerians as best as we could. What is within our hands, I have given, and I keep giving." So these are the words of the First Lady Remi Tinubu. And she also mentioned how she has contributed to certain things in the country like cancer. She gave millions of naira, some she gave $1 billion, and of course, Nigerians are asking questions to say, okay, is she trying to advise people who cannot really get a good job to venture into these businesses? And that's what we are talking about this morning. But before I turn to, I would love us to watch the video so we can see, what she had to say this morning.
And to start akara business doesn't take a lot of money. To start roasting corn, or somebody even said about grant, you see, they're saying that kuli doesn't take much. We didn't give them a loan. We gave it to them as a grant. So we've encouraged Nigerians as best as we could. What is within our hands, I have given, and I keep giving. And those are the things we've done. I remember giving for TB. When I heard there's so much TB cases, I gave 2 billion. To breast cancer, I gave 1 billion. To food malnutrition, I gave 500 million. So those are the things we've been doing, and making sure we can make sure that whatever this government is trying to do, that it will see the light of the day. So in agric we've done, in social investment we have, in education we've given a little bit of scholarship, ICT training, and with NIDA. So, and all those are things, and we are still open, still want to do more. The narrative has really changed, has changed to challenge the average man, whereas the average man is supposed to have hope. So I like the idea that Mr. President said this is the renewed hope agenda. We have to renew our hope.
Welcome back from that video. So it's time to turn to Anna. She mentioned renewed hope agenda, and that's what they are trying to do alongside the husband, to see how they can better the lives of Nigerians and to ensure that people who cannot find a white-collar job can start a business, and from there they can be able to fend for themselves. What do you make of that?
I think I would probably just say that there's something called renewed hope akara. Now that we've seen this video now, because akara seems to be a profitable venture for everybody that is coming out of the university setting to now look for beans, how to make it. There are many houses you can check on YouTube. You find videos on how to make akara beans.
You sound like someone that can even make it. I don't know.
Yes, you.
Okay. Okay.
You make it.
No, the way you are saying it, you get beans, and I'm wondering,
because
maybe
it's actually funny.
Have you fried akara before?
I think I've done it before, but anyway, it's
Okay.
funny. But to think on, sometimes I have no problem with Ashiwaju, like Mama. Mama has done a lot of things. If you follow her, you know that she's a giver. She's done so many.
She mentioned it. She gave 2 billion to
but
breast
sometimes I
cancer.
don't like it when they make us feel like we are at the mercy of them. You are serving people. If you say you gave from which post, is it your personal post? If it's from your personal, that's even wrong. To do a national exercise on your personal income or is not. So it could have been that there's an allocation for you from the federal government, from maybe your husband. But whichever the case is, if don't put it out like people should now be saying, thank you, man. There's nothing like that. You're serving the people. You're serving the people. They should. So akara is a good business. But how many persons can do akara now? Maybe they want everybody. So let's go to the University of Ibadan, for example, and let's say everybody now come and train on how to do akara. I get the point she was trying to make. The point is be industrious.
Okay.
She's trying to encourage entrepreneurial skills and all of that, which is okay. But to now, maybe the instance is why a lot of people have problems with this. Akara, asao. If you're talking about global dominance or you're talking about global competition, you have to think about things that are now making sense, things that are now making people not to just live and just get by every day, but to also stand and be able to, as a youth, and stand there to start a family with akara.
I think the examples and
The examples are, those are the issues. But so I know
most
sometimes,
persons.
and we keep saying it, if there's something to say, there's a way to say it. And I'm so sorry because I think it's not because these people are not smart enough to tell us what is right, but sometimes because they have reduced us to a level where they think the little things are the things they can say to us. If you check the video, some people were nodding.
And it's part of the comment, and then let's just enter the comments straight and then see what people have to say. And then Chukudi saying the other day it was Bayo Nonuga claiming Nigerians ill and hearty. Today it's Uluremi dishing out advice on entrepreneurship. Bottom line, give birth to children you can cater for. Nigeria isn't getting any better anytime soon. A state in time saves 9.
Chukudi. Anyway, Vin says, Una won't cast this Ankara. Okay, this is Akara. It meant, akara business where some people take the managed life for Nigeria. From cost, the price will go up.
Let's pray that doesn't happen, basically. And Kodo Cruz is saying, those people in the background nodding their See, I say this all the time. We can express our grievances, but let's not sound uncouth, because we need to read your comments. And so this person just trying to say why were they nodding, to certain things that she said, basically. And then basically, just like we said, I think we need more
Akara fryers.
No, not more Akara fryers now. We need more encouragement from the government. I mean, they started with the grants, giving out grants to the people. Maybe, I think there are other things people can do beyond, what's it called now, beyond the Akara. And then, we are not trying to say people who fry Akara are not doing their best or they are not good Nigerians. But basically, the government should just try to look for ways to do more for the people. That we encourage them anyway. Right?
And then to speak right, not just do well for us, speak right to us. There are many people that can be encouraged by what you want to say, but say it rightly. Use the right examples. Take them to global standards. Don't decrease us to the level of Akara sellers.
I mean, talk about other things. AI, get skills, coding. I think that would encourage people. Okay, it's a fine place to leave this.